So I'm gonna make a start. Welcome everyone to your next workshop, which hopefully will be interesting and helpful. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jo Welch from Complete Careers, and I'm joined by Natasha Davies from Wigston Academy. I'm not going to say any more about Natasha because she's going to introduce herself when she does her bit. So yeah, we're focusing on impact. So, you know, evaluating the effectiveness of your careers provision, you know, in terms of have you met your intended learning outcomes, you know, and what overall impact your careers provision has had. So in just a moment, Natasha is going to talk about monitoring, reviewing and evaluating at Wigston Academy, how she does that there to you know, evaluate the impact on addressing the needs of every learner. We'll then probably either take a few questions then, depending on sort of timing. We can take questions then or we can take questions at the end. I'm going to spend a few minutes after Natasha just talking about how the quality in careers standard using career mark approach can help you provide really robust evidence of your impact of your careers policy and overall programme. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Natasha so she can share her screen, and then I'll pick it up from there once Natasha's finished. So you handing over to Natasha, thank you.
Oh, that's the very beginning. Let me just get out of that and go to the, sorry, that's the end. Let's go to the beginning. That will make more sense. Right. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for allowing me to talk at the conference today. It's a great pleasure to be here. As Jo has said, I'm going to be talking about the impact, and this has been a really good opportunity to get me to reflect as well on what we do at the career programme as part of Wigston Academy and Wigston College. Thought it'd be useful to give you just a little bit of information about me to start with. I'm an assistant head teacher as well as the careers lead for a multi-academy trust where we've got two schools. We've got Wigston Academy, which is an 11 to 16 school, and Wigston College, which is the sixth form provision. I've been at the trust for 14 years, and in the last 6 years had responsibility for careers as well as many other things as well. I joined the Enterprise Advisor Network when it was established, I think 4 years ago, but time definitely flies. And our two schools are part of the Careers Hub in Leicester and Leicestershire, which started about 2 years ago. Leicester and Leicestershire were part of the pilot of the Hub schools, and I believe that's rolling out across the country now as well. And actually that being part of that hub has been really beneficial in getting me thinking about monitoring and evaluation and things like that. So to start with, talking about how we monitor the careers provision at Wigston College and Wigston Academy. I set up an internal tracker, which is in an Excel spreadsheet 3 years ago now, for every student in the trust as an individual entry. And that then helps me log every event or activity that the young people do. This summer I had been planning to move over to Compass Plus, but the pandemic has got in the way, and I still need to do that, and it is fully my intention to do it. I just haven't done it yet. Having this internal tracker, which covers every encounters with the world of work, any careers talks that the students have been to and identifying the sector that they've had a careers talk from, careers interviews, the careers programme in terms of any CV workshops that they've had, interview preparation, anything linked to LMI, FE and HE encounters as well. And having that tracked at an individual student level really enables me to look at any gaps in the provision, whether that's gaps for the year group or whether that's gaps for individual students. And then that helps me identify where I need to sort of fill those gaps either the following year, or if we're getting to the end of year 11 or year 13, if there are ways that we can help that young person who's missing any of the activities that we've put in place. I also use the Compass benchmarks to monitor the whole careers programme across the whole of the trust. And I think what's been useful for me with the development of the Enterprise Advisor Network, with the development of careers hubs, has made me think far more strategically about the careers programme that we've got. When I took over careers 6 years ago, across both schools, there was a good careers programme. There were lots of events that were happening, but it wasn't very strategic. And I think probably we were all in a similar boat then, that we would do different things, but we never really evaluated how effective they were. So all of these things that have been put in place through the CEC and everything else has really helped me to have that strategic overview of the careers programme. Just sharing what I do with the Compass benchmarks, because I've got 2 schools in my trust, I track the progress I'm making against all 8 benchmarks. I'm just showing obviously four of them here. And what this has been quite good as well for me is to identify if there are any gaps or where I need to put further intervention in place. The other benefit of having it so visual is that it's really good to share with SLT, with governors, with Ofsted, so that the whole programme can be sort of evaluated in a way so we can see where we're going. Now, clearly we've got quite high scores for some of these benchmarks, but I don't use that just as my sort of ceiling of what I'm going to do with the careers programme. It's a starting point. It's one of the external measures that we are used to be judged against. So I do obviously share these with all the stakeholders, but I'm very aware that actually there is a lot more that underpins these benchmarks that helps us develop our careers programme. In terms of reviewing, I think it's really important that I have a handle on how each event or activity that we've undertaken, what impact it has. And there's clearly a cost with a lot of the activities we do. Sometimes it's financial, but quite a lot of the time it's a time cost, not just for me, but for my team as well. So I need to make sure that we're getting value for money in whatever we do. So if I'm reviewing each event, I ask the students how they perceived it. Have they got out of it what I intended them to get out of it? And if they didn't, then obviously we need to change that and evaluate and redo it for the following year. What have they learned from it? Now, that could be employability skills. It could be a range of sectors and jobs that are in different sectors that they've not thought about. The impact on the school day and the wider curriculum. Clearly, if we're running some events that take them out of other lessons, I need to make sure that the impact isn't too big. So what we're benefiting in careers isn't having an impact somewhere else. So I always have a look at that and see whether it was worth them missing a geography lesson or a maths lesson to take part in this careers event. And then obviously, is it worth repeating, looking at the cost and the benefit. Part of reviewing as well, I regularly collect intentions and destinations information on year 10, 11, 12 and 13, as well as on results days. Now that gives me an idea of how the students are responding to any events that we have put on as well. So if we're increasing the encounters with FE, does that actually mean that students are choosing a destination that is more appropriate for them, so that they are being advised, guided, given information on the range of different pathways that are available? Also, as we now have to have the information on students who have left us for the 3 years after they've left us and where they are now, that is one thing I am starting to track this year. Again, it goes back to that cost benefit analysis. I don't want to be spending so much time on this because of the outcome. It isn't cost benefit for the school. So I'm working on trying to find an efficient way of doing that, and I haven't quite got there yet. We also review the careers programme itself, so use the Compass benchmarks as a starting point. If there's anything that we're not scoring highly on there, how can I implement that into the careers programme so that students get the full range of the careers advice that they need for their next stage. Review the PSHE lessons as well to make sure that it is effective what is being delivered. And student voice. Always make sure I ask the students what else they would like to cover. And some of that can come from the intentions and destinations. For this year, Year 11, we've got a lot of students that are interested in graphic design. That's the first year we've had that, but that means that over the next few months, I'm going to try and find some input for the careers programme that is relevant to those students. So it sort of all starts linking together, and I get from information I gather from one piece of evaluation or review, I feed into part of the whole careers programme. I've got here a couple of examples of the feedback sheets that I use, just so give you an idea of how we collect the data. This one on the left-hand side is based on an enterprise week that we get students who don't get a work experience placement to do. So they spend the whole week running an enterprise project. And this bottom bit of the evaluation and feedback sheet gets students to reflect on their employability skills. So to identify where they have used those skills throughout the week, and if they are more confident in them now than they were at the beginning. So at the beginning of the week, they do one of these and plot themselves along that scale, and at the end of it, they plot themselves again. Because I think we all know that young people are find it very difficult to identify examples of where they have used communication skills or where they have used organisational skills. So this is hopefully getting them that awareness of where they do use them so that they can use it in future personal statements or job applications. This one in the middle, I ask, it's during the Year 11 mock interviews, and I asked the interviewer, so local employers, to give the students direct feedback on how they performed during that interview. So whether that is on their CV or whether it's their attitude, body language, whatever it is, they get immediate feedback so that they can see what they need to work on for next time and what they were doing well on. And then this one on the right is a bit more of an action plan feedback sheet. So this is one that I get students to do after a career speed networking event. And usually they'll have spoken to 10 or 12 employers. But I get the student to think about who are their top 5? Who are the 5 that are going to have the most impact on what influences them on future job roles or pathway that they choose to follow? Then I get them to think about what they've learned. And the final bit is an action plan that they have to develop for what they are going to do as a result of whatever event that they've been to. So getting students to take a bit of responsibility for their own careers journey. In terms of student evaluation, as I've just mentioned, after every event, I get some feedback from students. What have they learned? You know, do they now feel more confident? It could be talking to people, it could be in preparation for an interview, it could be thinking about they're more confident about their next stage in education. And also that final question that I mentioned before about them taking a bit of responsibility. I also think it's really important to get evaluation from the employers as well. I'm sure we've all got an increasing number of employers that are coming into school to help us with these different activities. And I think it's really important to make sure that the employers feel they're getting something out of the event as well. So I certainly asked them how they thought about the organisation, how to improve it. But the bit that I'm really interested in is how they feel the students have got on. And if any feedback in that identifies similar gaps in their behaviour or knowledge, then that's something I can feed directly back to the students on something they can work on. So a couple of years ago, the employers after the Year 11 mock interviews said that actually on their CVs, students weren't putting their interests and their other skills down. So that immediately got fed into my PSHE programme so that when we did the CV lesson, that got strengthened. And then fortunately, the following year, the employers said that actually that was better. Also, as we have an increasing number of employers working with us, I sort of hope to be able to develop some projects, and if there's anything that they would like to follow up with the school. Now that could include if they are offering apprenticeships for their company, if they would like to come and work with a group of students who might be interested in it to help them develop the skills ready for when it comes to interview time, so that those students know what that company is looking for. So I've done that with a few local employers quite successfully, and I hope to develop more. I always make sure that they are thanked for their time, including the head teacher. Make sure that the head teacher comes and recognises that actually this partnership between employers and schools is really important. And then any other activities that they'd be able to get involved in. Just sort of in March, I started having conversations about some exciting projects about developing work skills and how that could be, how a couple of companies could come in and do some workshops with targeted students. Obviously that's on the back burner at the moment, and hopefully we can get that re-established as and when restrictions are lifted. And then again, working in the future, as I've just mentioned. Then of course the big thing that we are all educating our students for is for when they leave school and join the big wide world, and therefore it's important to find out exactly what the impact on students is of the careers programme and the events that we're organising. So over the last 4 years, I've definitely seen an increase in the number of encounters with the world of work, tracked through my internal tracker, but also just the different events that I'm putting on. There's anecdotal evidence from the students that they do feel more confident when they go to an interview, that they know what options are available to them. Feedback from employers have said that students are definitely more confident, and some really positive feedback that is shared with the community. And that's really important as well, because that not only helps the students when they're going to look for jobs, because they're linked to obviously the school or the college that they've been to. But the other thing that's important there as well is the evidence that the LEP gathers for Leicester and Leicestershire from local employers has said that there's definitely young people in the last 5 years are more work ready. So that's really encouraging to show that the people in Leicester and Leicestershire, the young people, are getting those employability skills, those transferable skills. And that it's not just obviously my careers programme, but it's the careers programme that we're all implementing in schools. The final impact on students is there's definitely in the last 3 years got increasing number of students successful at gaining apprenticeships at 16 plus and 18 plus. And I think that comes from that awareness of what apprenticeships are, that relationship between the school and the employers, so that they get a really good idea of what it is they are applying for, and they're successful in gaining those positions. The impact on the school and the college as well. It's helpful that the events are well received in the school and the wider community, because that then means that if I have another idea that I want to implement, that because it's well received, when I go to SLT to present another idea, it's usually well received. As was mentioned this morning by both Rachel and Ryan, having the careers programme integral to the school is really important to give it the position, the priority that it needs. And when the annual calendar is put together in our schools, the careers events are now central to that and actually become part of the planning process. Now that's really helpful, because that doesn't mean that when I want to run the year 11 mock interviews, I'm scrabbling around trying to find a date where it fits in between everything. It gets planned right from the beginning so that it is part of the school. Once you've got the date, obviously, then the PSHE calendar revolves around those key dates as well, so that there is a full programme in preparation. Now that means every event runs much more smoothly as well. So the students are prepared for the mock interviews, they have completed their CVs, and they have got that time so that they are ready to go to a mock interview fully prepared. And that then sort of helps all of the events run much smoother. The careers development plan also feeds into the whole school development plan. And again, this was mentioned by Rachel this morning. We are, as educationalists, wanting to support students not just in their exam results, but in their development of employability skills, in their transferable skills, so that they can take part in the real world when they leave school, and they know how to access those different pathways. So careers being part of the school, the monitoring and evaluation of some of the things that I've talked about just now shows the impact of the careers programme. Now, because it shows it positively, that then means that it sort of continues to develop part of the school ethos, that is part of the planning. It's got clear benefits to the students. The students can articulate that as well as staff. And it helps students see how they might fit into the world of work. So, you know, a Year 7 student might struggle to see what type of job they might want, or how they might develop their skills in order to be part of a workforce. But through the 5 or 7 years that they are with us, the careers programme helps develop their knowledge of different sectors, as well as the different skills that they need to do the different jobs, which help them, and they can see where they may be going in their future. The bit that's the hardest for me, and I know other careers leaders find the same, is getting the careers in the curriculum to be as strong as the careers through PSHE and that side of things. I'm working with my curriculum leaders, which again is what Rachel mentioned this morning, to really see how actually what you're teaching in a history lesson or a maths lesson, how that actually can really feed into the real world and how students get to experience it. So that's it from me. Thank you for listening. If you've got any questions, or if you'd like any more details, please do contact me. I'm more than happy to talk through anything if anybody would like any further details.
Okay, thanks, Natasha. That was really great. Thank you for sharing all of those really valuable insights with us. And I hope people have found that, you know, helpful in terms of sort of, you know, evidence of sort of, you know, best practice and sort of hints and tips to improve, you know, through that sort of continuous improvement. So what I'm going to do now is I would like to just spend the next few minutes just exploring how the process of achieving the quality and career standard through the career mark approach can provide external validation of your evidence of impact, of your careers provision and your overall careers policy and programme as a whole, in terms of how it's helped you meet the intended learner outcomes. And we've heard a lot about meeting learner outcomes today already, and also how it supported the school's development plan overall. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So looking at then how you can demonstrate impact through the quality and career standards using the career mark approach. My contact details are on the slide there, so if you would like to contact me, there's also a dedicated career mark email address, which I'll show you at the end. Please do so if you'd like to contact or Janet or John for any further information about career mark. So, many of you, I know already, are very familiar with Complete Careers as providers of independent career guidance, but also as one of the licensed awarding bodies of the quality and careers standard through the career mark approach. I'm sure that many of you have already got the award, you're already award holders, but those of you who aren't yet award holders or are considering going through the award process, I just wanted to take a few minutes to explain how Career Mark can help improve the intent, implementation and impact of your careers provision. So why go through the process of achieving the quality and careers standard through Career Mark? Well, most importantly, it will clearly demonstrate that your organisation has undertaken an extremely robust evaluation of your careers provision through a process which is quality assured by the Department for Education and the Gatsby framework. So the statutory guidance back in October 2018 clearly stated that they strongly recommend that all schools work towards the updated quality and careers standard incorporating Compass. to support the development of their careers programme. Now, the benefit of the Quality in Careers Standard is that it provides that extra layer of quality assurance by offering schools an opportunity to undergo an external evaluation of their careers provision, which makes it distinct from the Compass self-assessment. But because the standard is fully aligned to the Gatsby benchmarks, by achieving the Quality in Careers Standard, you'll be able to clearly demonstrate that your school is either meeting or actively making progress towards meeting all 8 of the benchmarks. So this alignment was neatly summarised by the Quality in Careers Standard back in May 2018, confirming that the revised criteria for the standard had been fully agreed with the Department for Education, Gatsby Foundation and the CEC, by stating that our revised national criteria has been agreed by those organisations, and it's also its timetable for the implementation of the 8 benchmarks. So the criteria fully incorporates the benchmarks both for schools and for colleges. So talking about the timetable for implementation and achievement of the Gatsby benchmarks, the Quality in Careers Standard devised 3 assessment outcomes which would remain in place until the end of 2020. So they are 1, which is deferred, 2, which is making good progress, and 3, which is fully meeting all the accreditation criteria, including the Gatsby benchmarks. Now, outcomes 2 and 3 should both be seen as positive outcomes and will result in achievement of the award, certificate and plaque that you can display in your school, and a full report about how you can improve your career provision through strategic and smart recommendations for you to implement. So, of course, the deadline for achieving all 8 benchmarks by the end of 2020 will be upon us in about 2.5 months. So we're currently waiting for the new guidance that John mentioned earlier on today. Hopefully we shall see some new statutory guidance from the Department of Education over the next couple of months with a revised timetable for the achievement of the benchmarks, as we know that currently schools are achieving just over 3, the national average is just over 3 of the Gatsby benchmarks. Now, in comparison to that, Career Mark Award holders are actually achieving an average of 4.7 of the Gatsby benchmarks. So that again is an extremely positive indicator that going through the process will help you not only ensure best practice and quality assure your current provision, but will also help you through the process of achieving all eight of the Gatsby benchmarks. So, how can you actually demonstrate impact through Career Mark accreditation? The Career Mark assessment process has looked at 4 delivery measures that you will be assessed against. So, these are management, advice and guidance, information, and career learning. So if we look at assessment indicator M2, for example, which is from the management category. So this assessment measure deals specifically with measuring impact of CEIAG on progression, looking closely at things like how you analyse the impact of your careers provision on not only learner progression and performance, but also learner transition in terms of destinations, and the impact on the development plan and how that informs and helps to impact on the school improvement plan. So looking at another standard from the category M9, which is monitoring and reviewing for continuous CEIAG development. So it has a particular focus on gathering feedback from learners, deliverers, parents and carers, and other stakeholders like employers about all the components of your CEIAG provision and how that feedback, together with data relating to learner performance, progression and destinations, informs the continuous development of your CEIAG policy and programme. So just in summary then, overall, the assessment provides a developmental approach to achieving best practice and, of course, an opportunity to review, evaluate and reflect on your current provision. Throughout the process, you will be supported by a careers expert who can advise on how to gather your evidence and which evidence to include. And once that evidence has been gathered, you can use that not only for your career mark assessment, but also for your Ofsted inspection, and indeed for any other stakeholders who wish to see that. So in this strange time of COVID-19, we have completed already a few remote assessments. They are possible, and the ones that we've done so far have been extremely successful, as long as the school or college can provide a suitable IT platform to enable this to happen. It shouldn't be a problem at all. We will still be conducting the assessment with key members of staff and also interviewing various, a range of student cohorts representing each year of your school, if it's a first assessment, or the most important transition years of your school, if it's a reassessment. So, you know, it is possible in these strange times. So please reach out to us if it is something that you are interested in finding out more about. Please go onto our website. We have a dedicated section to Career Mark. We also have a dedicated email address for Career Mark, or of course you can contact myself or Janet or John for more information about Career Mark. So thank you for listening, and we have about